steals without them drawing stuff. This deck doesn't give a shit about steel decks at wheel, really. I haven't really found wheel decks to be a huge problem for this. They can get nut draws, of course. That's always a possibility. You can never really rule that out. But in general, I would say that this deck doesn't struggle a ton. You know, you have Be Prepared and you have Ursula already. Like, you don't really need Yzma in that spot. You just do these and these. And if they somehow manage to wheel all of your Be Prepareds, sometimes they get you. I just don't think those decks are really that good right now anyway. I think they're okay. The blue variant, certainly, we don't care that much about. I don't think the blue variant is good against us at all. Blue steel, especially with the Elsa. Like, I just don't think they really have a good answer to Ursula that doesn't ramp us into these. Yeah, I could see their nut draws like Yzma being more playable, for sure. But I mean, there's sometimes you just lose to their perfect draw. That's why we're playing best of 3. You know, they get that so rarely. They get it almost as often as, you know, if we're talking about like Steel Song or whatever. Their nut draws happen as often as their non-functional draws. So it's like kind of whatever, you know. But so far, I think the deck has been pretty good. We are currently 4-0, which I didn't save. We fought against 2 purple steels, a popsicle, and an RP deck so far. It has performed pretty well, I think. So I'm going to wait a couple minutes for the next round, and then I will see you there. Okay, so we're 4-0 in the 2024 New Year's Lorcana tournament. It's the best of 3. So we have 5 more rounds. This is a 9-rounder, which is a lot. But we're battling, you know. So far, so good, at least. And we're gonna keep kind of grinding. The next round should be up shortly here. It looks like they gave them maybe another 5 minutes or so, and then they're just gonna, anybody who hasn't reported they're just drawing them out. So that'll come up pretty quick here. So we can go over some of the deck choices again. Fidget is a response specifically to the Mini Surfer. Yeah, they changed up the pricing after we made some comments about it. So that they included the top 8. It just ended up being too many people, and they wanted to be able to do coverage on it. And it just feels a lot better when you have a little bit of a better prize break, more similar to what a 1K would have, which is nice. You know, it's good to adapt to comments and criticism, because it makes it a better tournament. I think people are more encouraged to want to try to get that top 8 and actually have a chance of playing for prizes. It's really rough when it's super top heavy and it's not like an invite to something. In this case, it is mostly just money and glory, right? But if it's all in the first place, then it's pretty rough. But yeah, so Fidget is pretty much only to respond to Mini Surfer. Yes, Teeth can kill it. However, in general, I would say that Teeth is pretty bad in the mirror, and it gets inked a lot or mulliganed, just because it doesn't do much normally. So by the time that, especially if you're on the draw, they've already maybe inked this, they play this, you follow it up with Fidget, it, in theory, slows down the mini long enough with just a single card, as opposed to needing, you know, your own mini plus a crab or whatever. So the Fidget is pretty self-explanatory there. It is ink in almost every matchup that is steel, just because it has the 2 toughness, being a 3-2. It's pretty bad against the Rage Against Storm or whatever. But that's fine. Some cards can just be ink, and that's okay. Because the crabs are not amazing in that matchup either. They're a little dirtily, a little awkward, which is why they got the cut for the fidgets. We shaved down a few of our 1-drops to play some Cuscos. Cuscos give us a bit smoother of an early game. We don't need the 1-drop into Snake to be able to feel like we're doing anything before turn 3. Now it's got another option. You kind of need some Teeth and Ambitions. If you want to cut them entirely, you could probably just run additional, like some of these early drops to try and compete with the aggro that this is usually for. But generally the Teeth and Ambitions are kind of irreplaceable, like in general, because they can get around something like Simba. The 2 dragons is fine. Like, here's the thing about Maleficent Dragon, about Maui. The cards like this, or even Fidget to some extent, is it's ink a lot, like most of the time. Yeah, Befuddle could be good. Befuddle's okay instead of the Teeth and Ambitions. It is a similar role there, and it can bounce snakes. But yeah, like, this is ink most of the time, Maui's ink most of the time, Fidget's ink most of the time. Cusco's and Teeth, these are ink a lot once you're past a certain point, depending upon the matchup. Like, if they're not playing Tremaine, you don't always need the Cusco's. If you have a lot of rabbits, you don't always need the Maleficents, so these end up being ink. Basically, if you wanted more Maleficents, you sort of cut this kind of stuff. Right? You cut your lower cost things that interact. I would rather have a cheaper thing that sort of smooths my draw out than the Maleficent Dragons. Even though this card is very good when you can cast it, it costs 9. So you don't necessarily need them most of the time. You have the Elsas, you have the Ursulas. You know, the Tremaines do a similar effect, but they're cheaper. And because you can shift it, like there's some lines where you shift onto it, you bounce it with the snake, that kind of stuff, which you can bounce the dragon, but it is just more expensive to get in to start to do that. The first dragon in your hand when you have 10 ink is awesome, but the second one just is a little unnecessary. So I haven't really missed it. Two of these have felt pretty good by the numbers. I wish I could fit another Fidget, but there's not really anywhere to put it. Yzma's bad. I don't play Yzma in this deck. It's unnecessary. I don't really want to pull cards off of my board. Like, I don't want to pull a rabbit off my board just to draw a card and then consolidate my board so that it gets dealt with more easily. Just to draw, like, you are only drawing +1 card off of Yzma, right? And you don't need it to destroy specific cards in the same way that you do in, for example, the Steel deck. The Steel Bounce deck needs Yzma, and it's good here, because they don't always have answers to very specific big threats, sometimes ones with resist, like Big Cindy. So they have a clean out in the Yzma, and you just let them draw 2 cards. You don't love it, but you let them draw 2. But also, if you have a blue fairy in play, you draw an extra card. That's pretty good. You know, sometimes you hit your own rabbit, and you have a blue fairy in play, and you just draw 4 cards. Like, that's a lot better than drawing, you know, a couple of cards. We just don't need this as an effect. And it would be in the same spot as probably the Maleficent Dragons. So it would be like 2 Yzmas here instead. But I think the games where you have the Maleficent Dragon and you have 10 ink, you would much rather have a Maleficent Dragon than a Yzma, right? Because this does something on an empty board if they just play a thing and you respond. Whereas Yzma's like kind of awkward, because you have to have something on your board to be able to take advantage of it yourself. And then you also have to give them extra cards. Like, there's some spots where if they draw into Goat, you lose. But if your only answer is Yzma, sometimes you just have to blast it and then hope they don't draw it. I don't really want to be in that spot either. So it's tricky, right? It's tricky. For my money, these numbers are looking okay. But yeah, if you're playing Steel, like, this deck it feels similar. And flavors of this deck, like different variants on purple cards and steel cards, it feels like a similar deck, but they are very different. This is more of a tempo deck. I don't even know if Ursula's really that good in this deck. Like, there's just other 7s that you could play. Other big bombs. Like, even the Herc that our opponent was playing, I can understand why. Like, it's good in the mirrors and things like that. Yeah, if you're only running 6 1-drops, like... Because the 1-drops are good, you know, it's good to combine Ursula plus the Olaf or whatever. It's good to... on 8 to protect from Tremaine. But if you have the Kuzco, I think it's just better. Yeah, we're doing all right so far. The next round should be coming up pretty quick here for round 5. Looks like it is in the process of pairing. Yeah, 9 rounds is an awful lot of rounds. The 7-ink Madam Mim suffers from the problem of you needing a big-ass board. It's basically the same as the Yzma, right? Where you need to have multiple things on your board to play it, consolidate all of the stats onto one thing, and then it just gets Tremained, or it gets Maleficent Dragoned, and that's not a great spot to be. I think there is maybe some spot for the Mim Dragon at some point down the road, but right now it feels rough to put all your eggs in sort of one basket, even though it's a nice basket, and you know you can bounce a rabbit, and you know maybe you bounce a goat or whatever. That's great, but the reality is that you don't always have a super wide board, and consolidating all of your stats onto one thing is not always the best. Okay, so let me custom do this. Boom. Play. Alright, so we are on our 5th round here. Unfortunately, we are going 2nd. So you mulligan all of these. The rest of these are actually fine to keep. Sometimes it gets teethed, but a lot of times they have to commit to teething it instead of attacking or developing a rabbit, so it's fine. But generally, teeth is pretty bad in the mirror, so a lot of times they will ink them. And you only really need it as a direct answer to... as a direct answer to a mini, so they may not even play it, and you know you can respond to it especially if you're on the draw. It's obviously much better on the draw. You know, they go Surfer and you play the Fidget to try and contest it. So they have done nothing so far. I'm debating if I want a Snake here. Or just Kuzco. I suspect I should probably Snake. Given the matchup, I think I'm going to Snake here, and then we can play the Surfer. Because I want to make sure that I have enough ink. This is almost certainly the mirror, right? Yeah. Okay, they play a Surfer. I see. Well, let's see if the strategy that we're talking about here is one that works. So what's interesting about the Fidget as well is that we can just attack with it. We can do stuff with it. We can sing Friends on the Other Side if we're not bashing the mini, and that's okay. Like, if they have teeth here, great. Then they get us. They sing Friends on the Other Side. Sure. They might have been trying to draw into teeth. I could feel that. If they decide to go for the rabbit, oh, they fox it. Sure. That's fine. No worries from my side. I think we're down to draw some cards. We can get rid of one of these Kuzcos. Just going to play out a rabbit. I think I'm fine just getting in with the Mim here. So here's an example of where Surfer Mini is just like awkward. Doesn't really work for our opponent just because we had the fidget. So this is a case study in it not being so bad. See what they do on 5. They opt to just play a goat. Fair enough. It's actually not even that bad for us because we've got the... So they had the goat tech, or the crab, and it just didn't do anything for them in this spot. So we're getting in with the fidget here. We're going to get in with the rabbit. What's our play here? Yeah, I think I'm going to get in with the rabbit. I'm going to bounce the rabbit to my hand because we only have the one, so I'd like to keep it a little bit safer. And then I want to play this Kuzco. Maybe I just get rid of the Surfer of my own, because we're a little bit too close to B-Prep for me to worry about that too much. Like, we can do this, and then... Like, presumably our opponent is going to have to B-Prep at some point to deal with this fidget, which is hilarious, of course. And then we can then follow up just with an Ursula. I'd like to try and keep a 1-drop, if we find one, to play around Tremaine. So they play out their Surfer again. So if we take out the goat with our Mim... I'm trying to decide if I want to draw with friends on the other side or not. I think I kill the goat 100% of the time. I think that's pretty straightforward. Then I think I rabbit here. Since I have a second rabbit, I can ink this. So they can't do Tremaine plus crab. I think I can just quest with these then. And then we'll just hold the friends on the other side. We'll just develop a rabbit here. We'll see what they do. If they opt to wipe the board, that's fine. We'll follow it up with an Ursula or possibly even a rabbit. So they're going to Yzma. They're Yzmaing this fidget. Okay, well, if anybody wants to know why I'm playing fidget, here you go. We do have an awful lot of cards in our hand for not a lot going on here. I would like to clean up some material on our opponent's side. I do think that we need to quest some. I'm debating on whether or not I just like jam this Ursula and then don't quest. Or if we wait a turn and we just like flood the board a little bit. I think I'm fine flooding the board a little bit and just like hitting this Maleficent. Like playing another rabbit, drawing a card. Nice, we would be prepared now. I want to keep this Minnie Mouse. Guess I don't need this friends on the other side nearly as much. Like, I'm going to play this and say go. Our opponent didn't actually ink last turn because we were on the draw this game. So if they do have a be prepared and they opt to blow up our board, that is a-okay. So we can follow it up with Ursula plus Minnie then. Tremaine, sure. I think it's Maui into this. We quest. And then I think I get rid of this to do this. Draw another card. So we have a lot of B-preps, not a lot of big bomby things. I'd like to not B-prep just yet, since we do have the Mini Mouse. They're crabbing to kill our Mini. Sure, that's fine. I'd like them to commit one more thing to the board, and then I'm probably fine just B-prepping it even. And if they don't, I'm just going to bash here and play an Ursula, I think. Ursula. Hey, Rainari, how are you? Yeah, R&B, we're undefeated so far. So we do this. We can... I guess bash here. We don't really need double goat. Let's just do this. And put this back in our hand and then say go. Yeah, I mean, 2080 or 4080 would be better, certainly, but it's not that big of a deal. So our opponent plays an Ursula, that's okay. On my turn, I'm going to quest with the Mim, and then we're going to slam an Ursula and a Mini Mouse. So let's... Oh, wait, how close are we to winning? 14, 15, 16... we don't need to win that fast. This is fine. Let's do this. We B-prep here. Play Ursula again. And then I think just followed up with a Mini Mouse. I'm going to ink the Surfer. We just don't need the Surfer. I think I'd rather just play a handful of rabbits if they deal with this with a B-prep. Like play 3 rabbits or whatever. They could Elsa us here. If they just play a bunch of rabbits, that's probably not going to be enough. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be enough. So we quest. Just at 15, 16. Do this, bounce the goat, and then just pass. And we've just got him dead with this next turn. Maleficent. That's fine. Alright, so that'll be game 1. And then we go back in. And this will be for game 2. So far, so good. The deck has been performing pretty well as I can hope anyway. Pretty happy with the numbers on stuff. So that was going second in the first game. We have the Maleficent and a rabbit. Maybe we don't need the friends on the other side. That's probably fine in this matchup. Okay. Not a great start. We do get the turn 2 Cusco, which helps. Knowing that they're on Crab, we'll have to see. I'm debating on what I ink here. on whether it's just the Maleficent or if I don't worry about the Surfer. The Surfer's really good. Nah, the Fox is just better than this. We still may be inking one of these friends on the other side, but if we can get away with playing it, that would be better. We could also just not play the Cusco. Like, that is an option as well. Yeah, I think I just don't play the Cusco. Like, we have so much draw in our hand that we can just play towards a longer game. It's your boy. Alright, we get rid of one of the friends on the other side. We play Fidget. We'll see if they get fidgeted. Or if they opted to keep Teeth this time. If they decide to play Rabbit, then that's usually pretty favorable for us. They run out of Goats. Okay. Wow, they bash with Mini. Okay. Going for the race, huh? Fair enough. I don't think we're going for the race, though. Like, I weirdly think that we're supposed to ink this Mini instead of playing it. Oh, wait, they don't really have an answer to it. Like, I really need to play a Merlin Rabbit on this turn. Maybe I just get rid of friends on the other side, number 2, since we're just flush with rabbits. Nice. Maui's a good draw here, actually. Another goat. We could always fidget one of their rabbits, too. Or fidget one of their goats. Like, that is also an option. I think I'm gonna do this and this. I don't really want to Fox the Merlin here. I think I am just gonna get rid of this. If they're playing goats, their hand is really bad, because they also missed an ink again. So I think I'm better off just doing this. Like, if their whole hand is goats, I'm surprised that they didn't just ink it instead of playing it. Okay, I'm fine just bashing the Maui here. They missed their ink again. Brutal. We play a rabbit and draw. I think I ink the Maui. Though it is good, I'd like to bounce this rabbit and draw another card. Nice. The Ursulas should close this game pretty quickly then. Pretty rough for our opponent. But I'm given that their hand is likely a bunch of Tremaines or Be Prepareds or whatever, it's possible that they could have inked the goats instead of playing them, but sometimes there is the argument of wanting to get stuff on the board. It happens though. Deck plays a lot of uninkables. Okay, they ink a snake. What do they got for 5? Another goat. Okay. I mean, they've just had like 100 goats. So it's a bit strange that they We're struggling to find Inkables. I just play Ursula. No, I don't want them to bounce it unnecessarily. I think we deal with it now. That's 3 of the goats down. Means they have a lot less realm to try to close the door on us. If they do catch up on their ink. I think I can get rid of Mim, Fox here, and then say go. What this lets me do is, I'd like to keep the Olaf in hand as long as possible, because it's a really good follow-up to B-Prep to do Ursula Olaf. There's a Tremaine, we sacked the rabbit. Yeah, their hand is likely just a bunch of Tremaines. Or B-Preps, or both. Can put them back to 10. And then we can go up to 10 ourselves. And we have a bit of a larger board than them. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Let's play this first, just to see what we draw for inking purposes. And we can ink the redundant Olaf. We'll bash with those, say go. If they have the Be Prepared and an ink for it, they're going to want to use it. Which will put them to 12, and then we get to follow up with this. So they ink a Fox, they quest, they B-Prep. Yep. And they may be doing that for a couple of turns in a row here. That is certainly possible. Do this, draw a card, ink the Maui. We play the Olaf, say go. Tremaine protection here. The Yzma are Ursula. Yep. Got Teeth and Ambitions, which is unnecessary here. Let's quest with the Olaf. Let's play a rabbit. Thanks, Michelangelo. Appreciate that. I don't think we need this Teeth and Ambitions at all. Let's play a goat. And let's play a snake on the goat. And then say go. I'd like to try and close this game out sooner than later. And since we have double goat and another Mim, like we have a lot of closing potential that we can try to outrace what they're doing over here, even though they've gained quite a bit for such a mediocre draw. They're going to go up to 14 here. Most of it, I guess, is from these goats. I mean, this is 6 lore, just from the goats alone. So they don't have a ton of additional reach, which is nice, even though they're going to 14 here. Okay, they B-Prep again. That's fine. All right, we draw a card. Alright, we will play some stuff to the board. I don't suspect that we need this Friends on the other side. This is for... We can do this. Yeah, that seems fine. Draw a card first, though. Get rid of this. Play a goat. Play a Mim. Bounce the goat. Say go. And then if they don't kill these, we get them with the goat. The Yzma and draw with the mini. Fair enough. Given that, I think we're just going to Elsa the Yzma here. And then play a goat out raw. And just say go. Since we can't bounce the goat this turn, we may as well just delay the game a little bit more. And then make sure that we're done 100% next turn. Because if they have a Be Prepared here, We just want to make sure that we're safe, right? Alright, that'll be it. Okay. So the deck's performing pretty well. That was sort of a case study in why Fidget is good. There were multiple instances there where Fidget was... We were on the draw, our opponent played a turn 3 Minnie Mouse. Surfer, we followed up with a Fidget, and it was awesome, right? It did basically everything we could have wanted it to, and when they were no longer using their Minnie Mouse, we were just able to use the Fidget as a card to gain us lore. It's very good. Specifically in the mirror, though. Also a case study in perhaps why Yzma is not so good, because it really just doesn't do a lot there. It's also why Tremaine can be awkward sometimes, too. Because Tremaine certainly can be awkward in some spots as well. Like, one of the issues with Tremaine is that as long as we were always playing around it by, you know, holding an extra Olaf to play with the Ursula, or having random idiots in there. Yeah, I know. It didn't matter a ton, but yes, you can play the one that's on the right side. I had actually mentioned that to Pavel as something that could maybe be fixed, just so that the card order isn't as relevant. In paper, that's a non-issue, right? So that was a pretty fast round, actually. There's still 28 minutes left, which is quite a bit. What do we do? We can talk about the deck a little bit more. We've been doing that a lot. We could take a bit of a break. A bit of a longer break and go find some food. I know that that's kind of boring for the chat. Man, 9 rounds is so many rounds. It's a lot. I am okay on food. Or, sorry, water. But I could probably use to eat something, so that might not be a bad idea. But yes, that is something to call out, certainly, is making sure that your hand is... that you're using the cards on the right side, ideally, before the left side, just because it hides a little bit more information. Most of the time, people aren't paying enough attention for it to matter a ton, I think. But it is still something that is the reason that people shuffle their cards in their hand when they draw them. My opponent win percentage is okay now. It's a little better. We're up in the 60s, which is good. Which some of that has to do with us being... being 5-0, of course. I assume that if we get to like 7-0, we can probably double draw in if we want. 7-0 might be able to draw once and then bash too. I don't know. I'd have to look at the standings and how many people are actually in it. How many X&O players are there even? 1, 2, 3, 4? Wait, there's only 4 X&Os right now? Huh? How do we still have 4 rounds left then? That's crazy. Oh no, there's more than that. I'm just dumb. Never mind, don't mind me. I just can't manage the standings sheet. It's too complicated. There's too many rounds out for it to actually be real. So I'm just not going to think about it. Let's do this. I'm going to... I'm going to call it 20 minutes or whatever, 25 minutes. I'll put up a timer and my be right back screen. And then when that is... I'll go take a quick 20 and go find some real food. I've got some downstairs. I'll go nuke, and then that'll give us a bit of a more rejuvenated round 6. So thanks everybody for hanging out. I will be back in, call it a half an hour. It's pretty safe, I would think. Yeah, thanks, First20. Appreciate you. Right when I'm going to go on a little break. But yeah, I'll be back. Alright, well, my timer kept crapping out every time I would tab away from it. You know, what are you going to do, right? But it is time in the round. Looks like got about 10-ish minutes or so before we get to go to round 6. So far, we're doing pretty well, 5-0. We have played against Mirror twice and against some flavor of Purple Steel. 2 times now. 1 Popsicle deck. I'd love to run into more Popsicle decks. As much as I like rumbling it out in mirrors, I would rather something that's a little bit easier. I don't necessarily know if anybody is even playing anything at the top-ish tables at this point that is, you know, looks similar to that, but, you know, you kind of never know what people are on. Round is completed. Still waiting for the next one to go up. You know of at least one. Well, I hope it's not discard. I don't want to fight that. That's shit too. I want like a matchup that's good for me, favorable in my direction, not the other direction, ideally. I would assume that there are probably some discard that are doing okay. Maybe some Steel Song of some sort. Usually there's some Steel Song that does alright. It's kind of hard to imagine Steel Song not doing okay randomly, you know? But all we could do is just battle. Go into the round, do our best. That's all I can do. We will wait a couple minutes for the end of round cleanup to happen, and then we'll go into our round 6. So there's, what, like 9 undefeateds currently? Whatever. I doubt you can see any information about them. Can't really see much information at all. You know, the roster, can you see info? No, you just can't see shit. That's fine. You can see, like, what happened the round before, but that's about it. Fidget's been very good the last game. We just don't play against that. You just don't play against discard and Amber Amethyst aggro, and then it's not a problem. Just dodge. Just play against the mirror all day. Against Purple Steel. Ideally, we let Purple Steel clear out all of the aggro decks and the discard decks for us, and then we come in with a list that includes some of these Elsas and some of these Tremaines to sort of clean up after that. It's not a perfect strategy, obviously, but it's kind of what we've got. I mean, so Amber Amethyst aggro, it sort of depends on how their draw looks, right? Whether you get the teeth, like if you know that it's Amber and Amethyst aggro and you have some of the lower drop stuff, obviously Mim Fox and Maui are still good in that matchup. The Tremaine can be okay there as well. And the Ursulas, if you get this far, draining the lore can be very powerful. But it's not a great matchup, realistically. However, Arthur is not very well positioned in the metagame right now. I would say kind of across the board, Arthur is been pretty well targeted. You know, people are running more Smash, they're running more Strength, and things that do interact favorably against the Steel deck. Sorry, against the aggro decks. And they're certainly not beating any of the like the Tinkerbell piles. Like they're just gonna struggle with a deck like this because Let the Storm Rage On is just like a house against them. Blue Fairy can contest Pascal's, so they're not really free. It still has the same Madam Mim pile of interaction that we would be able to offer, But they also have like Strength of a Raging Fire that can just like blast the Arthur, not even accounting for the Grab Your Swords and the Tinkerbells once they get there. Like, if they shift a Tink and Grab Your Sword, like, a lot of times those decks just fall apart. So ideally, we're just letting these kind of decks deal with the aggro decks and the discard decks, and we're just fighting them later. We'll see how long that lasts. So far, it's been working. I would like to play against only Popsicles for the rest of the tournament. Don't really know if that's possible, but that would be an ideal setup for us. Unless somebody figured out a magical Popsicle list that's super favored into red purple. I think that would be where I would want to be. But we'll see. It was not bad. We've played the mirror twice now. In the last one, Fidget was awesome. We were on the draw both games, and we played Fidget on 3 after they played Surfer, and it was great. It answered the Surfer, and then it also just was a card that existed. We could sing Friends on the Other Side with it. We quested with one of the Fidgets 4 times or 5 times before they ended up having to Yzma it into our deck. It was very, very good. And it was also a bit of a study in why Yzma bad, or not great. Yeah, and that's why Fidget's in the deck. You don't need it all the time, and it's ink a lot, and that's fine. Some cards are not the best in certain matchups. But in the spot where it's good, if you're getting it in, it's good. There are games when Yzma is fine, and especially in this deck, it's great. But I just don't think that you need it here compared with just other cards. There's just nowhere to put it. I'm not cutting Maleficent Dragon over it, and this would be the only spot for Yzma, I think. Yeah, in Steel, you gotta have an out to Big Cindy. You gotta have an out to even a Hercules or an Ursula or something. And it's good with the Blue Fairy, right? With the Blue Fairy, it becomes even better because it draws you an extra card. You tuck your rabbit back in. This deck is built as a tempo deck, looking to just draw a ton of cards, play a bunch of shit. Fine, right? I get it. It has a lot more songs as well, this deck. Yzma can sing Grab Your Sword, or it can sing Let the Storm Rage On, and it can be very favorable with that. However, we just don't need that shit. We got Ursula. Ursula can sing Be Prepared. What more do you want? So the problem with Dragonfire, and the problem with giving a shit about Sad Beast, right, is that the only spot to cut for another uninkable is Lady Tremaine. You could cut the 2 Lady Tremaines for 2 Dragonfires or something to that effect. But I don't really want to time walk myself on 5 just to kill a beast. They already draw so many cards in this deck that a beast drawing 1 or 2 cards isn't that different from just a rabbit or whatever, especially if they're not questing with it or doing anything else with it. Often we've been able to not be pleased that it exists. Falling Toss, this game is about 6-7 months old now. Came out last year. Set 3 will be coming out in February. It has two sets right now. Yeah, you just you don't love that it's down. Their turn 5, I played it a bit, yeah. It's alright. I think it needs a little bit of work before I really want to invest a lot of effort into it when I can play Lorcana right now. But I play it on occasion, and I did a little bit of casting for it. It's a good game. But yeah, you don't love the beast comes down. But there are some times when you can blast it with Lady Tremaine, No, Pixelborn is a... This is Lorcana, Disney's Lorcana, the TCG. It's a lot closer to, like, Magic or Pokemon. This is a 60-card constructed deck tournament that we're in today. Yeah, we're doing alright so far. Doing our best. Pixelborn is a free client. This is a fan-made. One guy made this whole deal. So it is totally free, basically. Right now, you don't buy, you go to the cards, you just have them all, you can make whatever decks you want. At some point, presumably, it'll get cease and desisted. Maybe when Disney or Ravensburger gets to the point of making their own online client. But for now, it's kind of soft okayed. Because they don't really have an online or digital offering of the game. So, we play it while we've got it. You can actually find it here. Has some information there as well. Yeah, and that might be what happens when they get to the point of being like, okay, we need a digital client. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't have their own online offering until set 6 or 7. Like, until they get to the point of having, like, a big tournament circuit, like, whatever they decide to do for that circuit, I would not be shocked if it is not until after, like, the first year of that circuit that they do. But yeah, then they'll probably buy them out, and then they'll, whether they decide to do it in Unity or something else, that would not shock me at all. Like, they'll redo their UI, they'll have a whole graphics team to do it. But the back end is what matters, right? Because, you know, right now, all of the cards are just... They're just nothing. They're just blank squares, basically. Yeah. Yeah, people play Lorcana in real life. I play Lorcana in paper. The latest number that I saw at the SCG, I think they had a Lorcana 2K going on today that had like 92 people or something at at Cincinnati. Yeah, the game itself is Disney Lorcana. Yeah, they probably will at some point. It's very difficult to launch a paper card game and start with a client because it's really easy to fracture your base, and you want to sell booster packs, right? You want to get people in to actually be playing your card game first, and then, you know, and then you can move into the digital offerings later. Okay, so the next round is up. Let me refresh here. Okay, all right. Here's my code. We do this bounce house. All right, this is round 6 of the 2024 New Year's tournament. We're gonna battle. See if we're on the player draw here. We are on the draw. Not ideal. Get rid of this. Get rid of Be Prepared. I like the Olaf and the Mim. And I think the friend's on the other side. I don't know if I need this goat. So we'll send it back and be punished easily. Okay, so I'm just not going to play the Olaf. I'm going to ink it. Let's ink the goat first. We're probably going to need to use most of these, up to 4 at least, as ink, which is fine. This is likely the mirror. Looks like it. Let's get rid of this as well. Yeah, no problem, Falling Toss. Thanks for popping in. Alright, so they quest with their mini. Probably going to run out of Maleficent or a Surfer. Surfer would probably be the worst for us. Drawing 2 cards. We're not too fussed. Another Ursula. Okay, so let's get rid of the Mim here. And just draw 2 cards ourselves. And pass. At least we have rabbits. We'll use those to try and claw out of this a little bit. I'm not pleased that this Minnie Mouse has gotten so much lore. Uncontested, but not really a whole lot that we could do about it this game. We could potentially slow it down with the Mim next turn if we want. We're getting rid of this other goat here as well. So we can jam this rabbit. Say go. There's a world where we try to draw extra cards with this rabbit. I don't think we need to. We could want to do that just because we want to bully like the Merlin maybe. Just because they're so aggressive right now. That'll do instead. Just don't think we need this Maleficent Sorceress. We can certainly Maui here. We'll hit the Merlin Rabbit. I think we quest here and pass. So they gained a lot of lore from these little shitters, which is not ideal. But hopefully with these Ursulas and these rabbits, we're able to sort of claw back from it. If they Tremaine here, we probably just bin the rabbit. Okay, they Surfer, that's fine. Surfer is okay here, but not great. Because realistically, our play is going to be like jamming Ursula into probably Be Prepared. Looking at this, I think our play is to draw 2 cards with this. We hit one of these. I think we ink the Minnie Mouse. I'm debating on if I bounce the rabbit or if I just bounce the Maui. I'd almost rather have the Maui in my hand than the rabbit, because we already have 2 rabbits. Like, I don't need the draw card this turn either. Let's hit here and then play Fidget and then say go. We're leaving ourselves a little open to a Be Prepared here, of course. They inked Teeth straight up. Interesting. Oh, they just Be Prep? Not even sure that I care. At least not that much. So I would assume that they have a Tremaine in hand. If they fire off a Be Prep here. So I wonder if the play is to Rabbit Mim the Rabbit, or if it's just to play Ursula into Tremaine. Oh, fuck. Okay, we reconnected, we're fine. I guess we're gonna play a rabbit and see what we draw. I think I'm okay with this, actually. And then we'll ink... Didn't I already ink? Maybe they missed an ink drop. I must have already inked. That's fine. That makes sense. We were on the draw. They play a Tremaine. That's fine. Unsurprising that they play a Tremaine here. We should probably play a Tremaine ourselves. We can maybe Ursula. Let's Ursula, actually, because we have the Olaf. We don't need another Fidget. Let's do Ursula plus Olaf here and pass. They only get to go to 10 with this Tremaine. Our worst case scenario is that they... Not that they do that. That's not it. Another Teeth. Okay, so in this spot, they have answers to Ursula. We could also just remove their ability to have answers to Ursula here. I think we ink the Minnie Mouse. I don't have a Fox. Never mind, that doesn't really work. Okay, so then without a Fox, I think we quest here. I think we quest here. We play Snake on Ursula. We just replay an Ursula. And then just say go. Like, I'd like them to play another threat so that we can B-prep it. But we're also getting close to being able to do Ursula plus something after a Sung B-prep, which would be good. Another Maui. Kind of a weird spot for us here. The Cusco is actually a really good draw. So let's sing B-prep. Let's play an Ursula, draw a card. See what we can ink. Nothing. Let's ink the goat then. We'll play Cusco and pass. This gives us Tremaine protection. We have our own Tremaines. I'd like to find a bounce for them. But in theory, we should be able to close out the game with this pretty well. So we play another Maui. There's a lot of Mauis. If we do Tremaine here, then our opponent... I guess I don't need to. I can, like, draw cards. Let's just draw cards first. That will be good later. Let's do this. Let's ink Teeth and Ambitions. Let's play a Minnie Mouse. Maybe we hold the Minnie Mouse. I guess we quest with both, and that's fine. If they want to kill this Ursula with that Maui and the Merlin Rabbit, that's okay. And if they be prepared, it's even better for us. They might just have another Maui. Oh, they have a Mim, sure. They get to double hit the Ursula with that, that's okay. Means we get to keep the Cusco and the rabbits. Go to 13. See what they play here. They play a rabbit. And they play what? And they play a Mim Fox to bounce the rabbit again. Okay, sure. Oh, that works out pretty well, actually. Because I don't have to think about how I want to do this. Does that change it at all? Not really. I think it's just bop here. Drop up here. Draw. We'll ink a Maui because we don't need this many Mauis. I think we just play a regular Tremaine here. Get the Maui out of here, and then I'm just going to play a Minnie Mouse. And then say go. And if our opponent gives us the option to, we'll probably shift Tremaines and blow them up. Yeah, be prepared is fine. That's what, the second one? They play their rabbit. Let's do Ursula. Get rid of a Maui here. We probably don't need to ink too much more. I could actually just Tremaine this. Probably okay with that. Pass the turn. Okay, they B-prep again. They play out a goat. And an Olaf. Okay. We could Maleficent. I'd rather just Ursula. Plus maybe Maleficent Sorceress. And Cusco here. We don't actually necessarily need more ink here, as we can already do Maleficent, bounce it back, or do that with Ursula. I think this is a sufficient amount of board commitment. Trying to bait out more B-preps, because they have one more. They Maleficent Dragon us, that's fine. Alright, so given that we drew that, I'm going to play Maui. I'm going to bash the Merlin goat. We'll play Maleficent on their Maleficent. And I think I'm actually just going to do this. And then say go. Like, I don't want them to get in range of being able to just, like, goat, bounce. And we're on a pretty fast clock here anyway. Okay, Teeth and Ambitions is mostly useless. They do have another goat, though. I'm debating on whether or not I'm supposed to not play around, be prepared. 15, 16, 17. They'd have to have, like, a lot of bounce in their hand for that goat to be enough. I'm debating if I want to play this or just play the Mim Fox. I think I'd rather do this. Just blast the Ursula here. This is 4, 5, 6, and then we've got him with this. Okay, let's just say go. Hey, Man-Bat. I appreciate the resub. Thanks for that. Oh, no, this is the first sub. Even better. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're having a good time. It is still going to be a long day yet, but we're battling. It's looking okay for us here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if they don't interact with our board, then we're good. If they just play a Maleficent, then we go to 17, and then we're still good. Neat. Goat. Bounce the goat. Replay the goat. Alright, and that was on the draw, so that's good for us. Alright, so that puts us at 1-0 against RP. Yeah, the fidget forces the B prep. I mean, it's a good answer on the draw to some of this stuff. We have the Snake Olaf. We have the Rabbit and the Friends on the other side. What if we send these two back? Okay, that's fine. No fidget here, but we do have the Olaf Snake. I think we can get rid of the goat. We may end up running out double Surfer. It's a little worse on the draw, but it's still pretty passable. We may end up needing to just ink one and do Surfer into the Rabbit. Generally, these games don't necessarily come down to just like, oh, we race, we just turn our guys sideways forever. So they are on the crab version, which is notable. We have another goat here, which I'm fine doing because now we are pretty set on ink because we can ink the Olaf. Hopefully they just play a Maleficent. Oh, Friends on the other side. Yeah, that is fine. Oh, fidget right on time. I think I'm always just bashing this Mim here. Inking Olaf, and then playing a Surfer here. There's a world where I ink the fidget, but it could still come into play. We can always ink it next turn. And I think we'll have the Rabbit down by the time that Tremaine becomes a problem. So here's a fidget. They make crab ours, which is unfortunate. But if they do, fidget just gets to eat it, so I guess that's fine. Let's ink the Cusco. We'll play the fidget. We'll say go. If they want to spend like most of their next turn just like developing a crab, I guess I don't necessarily care. Okay. So they're at 5, so we're 2 turns away from a B prep. Let's dump this. I think we can push lore now while we can. I think we play the Rabbit, draw a card, see what we draw. We don't need Teeth and Ambitions in this match. And we can say go. We don't necessarily need to commit too much more to the board. I would be fine bouncing this Rabbit with this Mim next turn, actually. Assuming that there's a target for the Mim. If not, we'll maybe just sing. Okay, well this is going great for us. Okay, let's... This draw makes the Rabbit bounce a little more awkward, but still fine. We'll do this, we'll do this. We could draw 2 cards with it. Instead of going to 9. That might be fine, actually. Good for tempo. Let's do this. We'll bash the Merlin here. And then we can cycle one of these Cuscos if we want. We could also just play the Maleficent Sorceress, which is also fine. It's effectively the same as playing the Cusco here, but the Cusco's a little bit cheaper to pair with this Ursula. So they're going to B-prep this, that's fine. We probably followed up by just like doing Merlin Surfer. We'll see what we draw next turn. They don't B-prep. Ooh, that's not good for them. And imagine if we had Tremaine here. What a beating that would be. We definitely quest with these two. We, like, don't have to commit more to the board to be able to kill this. We go to 11 with this. Bounce the fox. Do the fox again. I don't know if we really care about doing that. That's, like, a lot of dirtily garbage. I'm fine just playing the rabbit. I'm going to kill their rabbit. We'll ink this. Ink the fidget. Say go. Hopefully they're not on the line of singing B prep with Ursula and then slamming an Ursula. That would be less than ideal. If their play is just to play another Ursula, we probably just Elsa them. They may not have a B prep. That's a possibility as well. Okay, so they do go for the sing line. See what we draw here. Draw an Ursula of our own. Okay. Oh, they play a goat. Okay. And a spellbook. Okay, so they're running spellbook. And then they ink to do one. Okay, that's fine. That was exactly the card that I was thinking of. I just don't think we need this Surfer. So we can Ursula here. Into Olaf. Pass. And here will probably be a case study in where Spellbook either is going to be awesome or really mid. If they have enough Be Prepareds in their hand to be able to, like, activate the spellbook basically every turn and then just keep blowing up our stuff, it's very easy to fall behind in a matchup like this. If they're just bouncing goats to try and burn us out, I think we can beat that. I think we can beat that. I definitely don't think we need this. I'm debating between just playing another Ursula or playing an Elsa here. It is awkward. If we quest with this Olaf, it doesn't put us in a good spot. So this is 14. I think we play the Elsa, tap these two. The reason that I don't know if I'm going to quest with Olaf here is it doesn't necessarily make our clock faster. Unless we specifically draw a goat. And if they play a Tremaine, I want to be able to have an out for it. Like, I don't want them to be able to, like, fox their goat, kill the Olaf Tremaine, and then kill one of our big things. Be Prepared is fine, though. There's a reason that we kept the Cusco in hand. So we'll play Ursula. We'll ink Teeth and Ambitions. Play Cusco. Pass. A goat would be a good draw here, of course. They've used 2 of their B-preps already, and they've only drawn 24 cards, so it is possible that they don't have another one in their hand. They drew an Ursula. Okay. Ursula's not great for us. We can maybe draw into a Tremaine. If we draw a goat, we can kill them here. So Ursula will get them to 17. Goat comes down for 4. Up for 2. And they don't have enough resources to kill us with just 1 goat. We could also just replay the Ursula too. Maybe that's just better. Like we quest with these 2 and we just replay Ursula to drain them for 1 again. I don't hate that. It's pretty safe. Let's just draw another card, which I think we can ink. Makes the spellbook a lot worse too if we replay the Ursula, because then we essentially delete one of their turns of activating it. So they can go to 15, 16, they can goat, which will put them at 17, bounce it once, but they can't replay it. So if they B-prep here, it's not great for us, because then we really do need a goat. But we do get to draw an extra card. Nope, they didn't have it. Alright, we will take it. Played around everything that we could, and they just did not end up having it. So we will take down that game, and we will go to 6-0. Alright, let me confirm with my opponent. Alright, sweet. Let me report real quick here. We were on the draw in 2 games. On the draw, we won. On the draw, and we won. Neato. That was a well-played game, I think, overall. They felt pretty smooth, yeah. Fidget just, like, making mini dog shit, which is the goal. Let's bring this up here and talk about it a little bit. Zero Dominator, appreciate this follow. Okay, so looking at the deck, Fidget has been awesome in our mirrors. Else has been great. I think that the 2 Tremaines has been the perfect number of Tremaines today. There are some times when I wish that I had another one just because I want more Tremaines, but I feel like the numbers on our cards are pretty good. And maybe they've just been operating well today, but they've been pretty good, you know? Like, I've never been sad about having the full complement of Maleficent Sorceress. I've never really needed more Teeth and Cusco's. Like, I think 3 is fine for both of these. The 1-drops, I think, are in a good spot. They probably need to be more Minnie Mouse just because it's a better card than Olaf. Fight me about it. But I did opt to play more purple cards just because it conceals a little bit of information or whatever. I think 2 Maleficent is a good number. It is ink a lot, similar to Maui, similar to Fidget when it's bad. However, the times when you want one, you really want just like 1. Oh yeah, our last 2 games, Fidget has, I would not say hard carried, but like, it hard carried. We were on the draw in the last 4 games against the mirror. And every time that our opponent played a mini, we played a Fidget, and it just, there was nothing they could do. One of our RP opponents had a Teeth, and they teethed it. but that was their whole turn 4, was casting Teeth and then questing for 2. So they didn't develop a rabbit, they didn't develop anything else, they didn't put another mini on the board or whatever. So we were able to keep up with what they were doing, even though they played a couple of minis, and it was fine. So I would say that Fidget has done its job. There are some spots where I kind of want a third one, but I think 2 is an okay enough number. Because the only real spot that I would cut is either the Maleficent Dragon or the Maleficent Sorceress, and I think that the Maleficent Sorceress is just better. Yeah, the crabs, in theory, were very good. But in practice, I just don't think that the crab... It is literally, I've described it a couple times today, as like a Rube Goldberg machine, just to interact with a mini sorcerer, or a mini surfer. You need your own mini surfer just to even get anything done with it, which is just really awkward, right? So I just don't think that it matters enough to really worry too much about it. And I think that having something like Fidget... I mean, you saw the Fidget in that game. It quested for, what, 4 or 5? Maybe, let's call it 3. So it ate a surfer and it quested for 3. Like, that's insane, right? So having, like, some way of interacting with it, you know, being able to deal with books with Ursula, because we have the Kuzcos and the 1-drops, like, it just gives us more Tremaine protection. It makes it so that we are playing a thing and another thing, and then this just replaces itself. So does this. Like, all of our cards are replacing themselves without having to, you know, go out of our way to bounce the rabbit nearly as much as we normally would have to, because most of our cards replace themselves, even some of our low drops. So all in all, it feels like a pretty solid list for this metagame. It can shift very quickly. If, like, if Purple Steel is not as popular, maybe the Elsas can come down a number and you add another Tremaine. You know, if the Mirror is less prevalent, or if... It doesn't really seem like you could ever cut more Fidgets, but there's a world where you can get another Tremaine in, or maybe get another Maleficent Dragon if the games are all more dirtily. Maybe add another Teeth if you really need the, you know, if the aggro deck resurges because Steel stops being so popular. Then you might need a little bit more early interaction because of that. But the Kuzco smoothing out the early turns has been really nice. The Fidget to interact with the mini surface has been great. The Elsa has been a good surprise in a lot of the... in a lot of the mirrors, as well as the steel one. Yeah, I'm fine fighting the mirror. Like, we have tools to be able to interact with it pretty favorably, and given that we have those tools, like, you know, if we're gonna fight mirrors, we may as well play the cards that are good in the mirror. Elsa's good in the mirror. Ursula's good. I think Ursula's better than Spellbook because, as I've mentioned a couple times, you sort of... Yeah, I mean, okay, let's be real. You can be the best at the game, you can have the best deck in the room, you still gotta run a little hot to scoop a tournament, right? Like, that is... You gotta have a little run goods. 2 has been the perfect number. 3 probably would be good too, but I don't think you would ever want to play 1. There have been a few times when I've shifted Tremaine onto Tremaine, and then bounced it with a Mim or a Snake, and it's like, how do you ever lose the game then? And if you don't have that option open, I think it's unfortunate, but it does come up from time to time. You know, maybe you're in a little bit of a B-Prep war, and then your opponent slams like an Ursula and a Rabbit or whatever. Maybe. I don't know, we're bashing. That's all we can do. I'll look at it after we get closer. If somebody wants to, you know, look at it and do the math when we get a little bit closer, we can do that. You know, there is one thing that's interesting about this event, too, and all of these events, is the rankings, which, you know, number go up, right? I think they mean in the top 8. I think they want you to play out in the top 8. Double draw means that you intentionally draw. So each round is worth 3 points. And a draw is generally worth 1 point. So currently, in this event, we are at 6-0 on 18 points. So there's only going to be a handful of players that still have 18 points, or that are still on 18 points. And then there's only going to be a handful of players that can get more than 18 points, even if they win out the rest of their games, or whatever. So there are worlds where you can draw and just get those +2 points to, say, go to 20. And then you make it so that the person down here can't get above you. You don't necessarily go in with the number 1 seed, but you'll be pretty set for like 3rd or 4th, 5th, you know, somewhere in the middle, just because you have like an undefeated record effectively. Michael Majors, I would assume, if this is the same person, is an SCG grinder, yeah. Presumably they're the same. I hope that this person is not on discard. I just want to avoid them forever. Oh, thank you. Perhaps somebody else can fight them and then beat them down. I want to play against any discard ever, ever, ever. No, thank you, please. But, yeah, so there's another 11 minutes in this round. So about 20 or so minutes before the next one goes up. Let me do this over here. Make a quick mark. Alright, so I'm probably going to upload this to YouTube in like a couple of parts, rather than having it be one 9-hour video again, because it took so long to process. It was like 16 hours or something to process it. It's really annoying. And I would rather not do that again. So we will break them up into probably 2 rounds. That's 6 games. That's a couple hours. I think that's reasonable. And then, yeah, I mean, it is not surprising that it took that long to process.